Okay, so the next group of little notes that we need to take is on evaluating expressions. And the reason why we have to do that is because it has to do with positives and negatives and understanding what to do when things are squared and when you're multiplying. So we want to make sure that you understand that. I want you to consider this. Write this down. This is part of your notes, but this is what we're considering. What is the difference? This is like a compare and contrast. What is the difference between these two expressions? Negative 3x squared and negative 3x squared. What do you notice? What do you see? The one thing that I see, that like the difference that I see between this expression and this expression, because they're said the exact same way, is the fact that this one has parentheses. And parentheses mean everything. Parentheses mean that all this junk on the inside has to be repeated twice. So what this means is negative 3x times negative 3x. Whereas this one, the only thing that's holding that exponent is the x, not the negative 3. So that means that the difference between this one and this one is that the negative 3 comes down, and that is being multiplied by x squared, or x times x. So what's being repeated here, because the square is on the outside, is everything gets repeated twice, because the exponent is a 2. What's being repeated here? Just the x, because the x is the only thing holding the exponent. So it looks like that. Now, what's different between them? Well, they both have two x's, x times x, x times x, but this one has negative 3 times negative 3. This one only has one negative 3. So that's why when you're doing these and evaluating these expressions, it does make a difference. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at an example where we have to actually solve these. And the example that we're going to look at looks like this. Evaluate, that means simplify and solve, negative y squared and negative y squared when y equals 2/5. I'm sure you were wondering where the fractions went. And here they are. So we need to substitute our y values in. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is talk about, again, what does this really mean? Remember, when the 2 or the exponent is on the outside, that means that we have to repeat all of this. So this is negative y times negative y, because we're doing everything inside the parentheses twice. Whereas this one, what's being squared is just the y. That negative is going to come down, and this is y times y. Now it's time for us to put our fraction in. So we're actually going to replace or substitute 2/5 in everywhere we see a y. So this is negative 2/5 times negative 2/5. And this one is negative 2/5 times 2/5. See the difference? Our 2/5 comes over. There's a negative in front, put the 2/5 in. This one, there's a negative in front, and we're just putting the 2/5 in. So how do these answers compare? What's the difference? Compare, contrast. What's the difference between them? Well, we know when you have a negative times a negative, our signs are the same, so that means that we're going to end up with a positive result. So this is going to end up being positive. We're going to multiply 2 times 2, and we're going to get 4. And we're going to multiply 5 times 5, and we're going to get 25. And I know that a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. And I'm just putting the plus there so that you know that we made the decision that 2 negatives make a positive. On this one, I have a negative out in front, so I'm going to bring that one down. And then I have 2 times 2 is 4, and I have 5 times 5 is 25. So what's the difference? How do they compare? Well, they're complete opposites. Positive 4/25 is absolutely opposite than negative 4/25.